Hey, what's up everybody? Lindsay here in Hong Kong, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about when you're having like a rough travel day because I've certainly had a rough travel morning, and the past couple of years of travel have really just taught me how to deal with things emotionally when something like this happens. So I'm gonna kind of preface the story a little bit, and then I'll get into kind of how I handled my like fucking A type of moment. So I arrived into Hong Kong and couch surfed my first 2 nights, and I had like the most amazing couch surf host from Portugal. But he and his wife have lived here for 4 years, and I stayed with them. And he had a Vespa, so the night that I arrived late. Like he had like made like a little vegetarian dinner and like shared some wine, and we had this great conversation. And then the next day, I went with him on the Vespa into his office. Then I went off exploring by myself for a bit, and then that night he drove me up to the peak on his Vespa to like overlook the whole city. And then the next day, which was a Saturday, he's like, oh, I want to drive you out like along the coast. So obviously when you think of Hong Kong, you think of a big city, right? And I did not expect to see this like magical coastline with islands and beaches. So it was like this really special, like amazing, like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. And then he could only host me 2 nights because he had friends coming in from town. And then I had found this local person who had offered to host me, and I was like, oh, I only need 2 nights. And he's like, ah, yeah, that's fine. Well, I arrive to meet him. So I have my bags, and we were meeting his friends for dinner. He had invited me out to dinner with his friends. So, and I told him, oh, like, I'm gonna have my backpack with me. Like, is that fine? Because I assumed that I would be staying with him for 2 nights. And then he was like, yeah, no problem. So then when I arrived to meet them, I'm standing at the station, I connect to Wi-Fi, and he's like, well, I don't see you. And I'm like, because he was on the opposite side of the street, even though he said that, I don't know, there was a bunch of confusion. So it took like 30 minutes, and we finally connected. And then his girlfriend was there, and they're like, oh, but like, why didn't you put your bags in your hotel? And like, I look at the guy, I'm like, because I'm staying with you. And he goes, oh, no, sorry, no. I can't. And I was like, oh, don't worry. I'm like, I'll just find a hostel. Like, no big deal. There's plenty of hostels, in Hong Kong. I knew I would be okay. But it was just like really awkward because he was so apologetic about it. And then we had to also meet up with his friends to go find the place for dinner. And we're just like aimlessly wandering around. I don't know what's going on. The one restaurant that we wanted to go to had like a huge wait, so we ended up finding this other little like local. They wanted to go and do hot pot, which is like a local broth type of thing that you put the vegetables and seafood, whatever you want to eat in there, and cook it. So we go to this restaurant, and we were told to go upstairs, and like the head clearance for this restaurant, you had to like duck under this like portion to get to our table. So it was just really entertaining from the start, and I had a really beautiful dinner with them. I quickly like found some cheap hostel, so I knew that I had a place to stay, and then we just had this like awesome dinner that took hours. It was like hours of just like conversation and sharing, and lo and behold, the one colleague of his has family who have a Chinese restaurant in Philadelphia, which is right near where I live. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to write them a note, like I'll deliver it to them when I go home. So that was a really cool kind of small world thing. So dinner is concluding, and some of the friends are leaving, and then I just went back to put my bags in my hostel because I had to check in by 11 at night. So I rushed there. I get like put into this room. It was a girls' dorm that had 4 beds, and just so super small. It was hot as anything. I'm like, okay, whatever, it'll do for the night. And then I went back out to meet the local person for like another drink, and then ended up just going back home kind of early. Well, I guess like early, like 1:30 early, and tried to get to sleep, but because I'm in the city, the noises were so loud, so I pretty much got woken up at 5:30 in the morning, and I was just like tired. And I was meant to go on this hike today that is this really epic, like overlooks the city but also overlooks the water, and I was like, oh great, that'll be great, because I'm not like a big city person. I'd rather be at the beach. I'd rather be in nature. So I had planned on doing this, but I was like, oh crap, like I have to figure out what to do with my bags, because I didn't want to stay in the same hostel again since I had such a rough night of sleep, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna switch hostels. So I found a different hostel to check into and booked it, and the reception was open at 9, and this was like 7 in the morning. So I was like, okay, like I'll just walk. It was like a mile and a little over a mile and a half from my one hostel to the other, but like on the same road. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna walk it. So like, you know, I have on my gear, I'm walking, it's already hot in the morning, I'm sweating, and I was like, oh, I have to go and take some money out. And I'm like super low on funds at this point because I'm at the end of my trip and I don't get paid for 2 days. So I was like, all right, I'll just take out like a little bit, and checked my balance, everything was fine. And I go to the ATM and like won't give me money. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just like the bank card. Like I had that happen to me. And like I try another ATM, it won't give me money. I try a third ATM, I'm like checking my balance, the money's there, and I'm like, why won't it give me my money? I'm just like, fuck. So I had like 60 Hong Kong dollars, which isn't much by any means. And like I think it's like 10 bucks maybe? No. Yeah, it's like $10. So I was like, oh great, like luckily, like my hostel, because a lot of hostels in Hong Kong only take cash, but my new one, took a card. So I was like, oh shit, like I'm like walking, just thinking like, oh my god, I can't pay for this hostel. What am I gonna do? Like, I'm like, I'll just figure it out. It'll be okay. So I arrive at the new hostel like right at 9 o'clock and give her like the information. She's like, well, you're not booked for tonight. You're booked for tomorrow night. I booked the damn fucking night, and I had like booked this deluxe room, which is still a shared room, but the review said that it was like much more comfortable. And she's like, well, that one's fully booked for tonight, but there is one bed left in the female dorm, but the price was like much more than the night that I'd booked. And I was just like, and I asked her, I was like, if I cancel my room for tomorrow night, am I going to be charged? And she's like, yes. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll just take the female, you know, one, and booked it. And I told her my card. I'm like, listen, my card wasn't giving me money. Hopefully it works. And thank freaking God it did. So at least I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be on the streets tonight. So I had my room, but then I couldn't check in and get in the room until like 2 o'clock. So I was like, okay, some people were kind of filtering around in like the little common area. So I started having a conversation with like a guy from Malaysia, and then I had a conversation with this Marine guy who's stationed, he was from the US, who's stationed in Japan. So I just had like a little bit of a conversation, but I was just like tired and just thinking like, oh my gosh, like if I can't get money out, like I need to get to the airport, like I need to eat. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll figure it out. So I decide to just start like walking around the city, and to preface all this too, ever since I arrived in Hong Kong, like my stomach has just not been good. Like I ate at the most questionable places in Thailand and had no problem, like hole in the wall little local places where like they're probably just rinsing the dishes with a hose, like, and I had no problem. And for some reason in Hong Kong I've had like, and this might be TMI for too many people, but I'm just gonna be honest with like what happens. I've had like explosive bad like want to shit myself diarrhea for like days, and it's like these are weird cramps, and I don't really like to take medicine. So I was like, okay, it'll pass, because like I've never really had stomach troubles in the, you know, all the years that I've been traveling. So I'm like, I've been walking around the city trying not to like poop my pants on 4 hours of sleep, and I just was like, okay. And I walked around and I sat at the harbor and just watched the boats come in and out, and you know, took a couple deep breaths and drank a lot of water, you know, to keep myself hydrated. And I just was like, okay, one step at a time. Like, and the reason why I want to share this story is because like I've had moments like this, you know, maybe not the same exact moment, but I've had moments like this and other days like this, you know, throughout my travel. And the reason I wanted to express this to people is like, your trip is not going to be perfect. It's still life. You could still get sick. You could still lose something. You could still, you know, miss your boat, your ferry, your you know, your plane, whatever. Like stuff will happen. And you just have to remind yourself, like, at least for me, like, the biggest part is, like, I just acknowledge that I'm having a bad moment. That, like, okay, I just don't feel, like, right now. But that's what it is. It's, like, it's a bad moment. It's, you know, it's not a bad trip. It's not a bad life. It's not, you know, even a whole bad day. It might just be, like, a bad moment. You know, so you just have to learn how to self-soothe yourself and self-love. And for me, that was just like spending some time in the sun, I went to this park, found a bench, and was journaling. And I swear to God, the girl at the next bench next to me asked if I was okay, because I think I just looked that tired. And also, too, I've been having some skin issues over the past like 2 months that went away, and now they're coming back. And it's just one of those things where I'm getting ready to go home in a couple days, and that's like what's driving me forward. Is I'm just so excited to go back and be with my family and be with friends and just really be able to shut off that travel side of my brain, because I don't think people realize, when you're traveling, especially when you're backpacking, like, yeah, I had spent some time in Australia and there wasn't that much travel problem solving because I knew I was going to have a roof over my head and, I knew what I would be eating and this and that. But the past month about, between Thailand and here, it's like from day to day, sometimes I don't know where I'm sleeping or don't know how to get from A to B, and you're always trying to problem solve. And it is worth it, but it does take, a lot of mental effort to figure out new places. And then when you get to the new destination, like, you're so excited to want to see everything that like you might be on no sleep, but like you push yourself through it. So I can't even remember the last time I had what I would call a good night of sleep. So this brings me to this moment right now. I am in my bed, obviously, at the hostel. Luckily, there's 6 beds in this little room, and I was like excited because I'm like, okay, the review said that it was comfortable, this and that. No, I seriously, I will show you where the ceiling is. It's a triple layer bunk bed, and like my face is pretty much in the ceiling. So the positive part is that there's at least some air conditioning, so I'm not going to be waking up in boob sweat like I did this morning. But like, here's my bed. I'm too tall too, as well. I'm 5'10", so kind of tall for Asian standards. So I can't even like stretch myself straight in this bed because I'm too tall. And then the ceiling is right here. Like my pillow, the freaking ceiling. I can't even sit up. So this is gonna be a fun, interesting night as well. But I decided to come back here and at least get like a little power nap in so that I can like refresh my senses. And then I'm going to go to some of the markets and retry my debit card to hopefully get some money out. But yeah, it's been a really weird like couple of days because I've had these like ultimate travel highs of being like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I can't believe I'm doing this, to feeling like, what the fuck? So I just want to, share so that other travelers I know out there can relate. But if you haven't taken a trip, or if you're considered taking a trip and you're scared that like, oh my god, well, what's going to happen? And what about this? Like, yeah, little things are going to happen. And I think the biggest thing that I've done over the past couple of years is really try to cultivate a mindset of like being positive and being happy and recognizing the fact that it's just a moment and then I'll get through it. And if I need to, reach out to somebody, because sometimes I just need to just tell somebody. But like, people at home that are working probably don't really want to hear about your shitty travel day. So that's why I also journal a ton as well, just to get that emotion and those energies out. So anyway, guys, I am going to take a little nap, and I will hopefully wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go and explore some more. So ciao, happy travels, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.